It's just a great big mess. Trying to fix your plot if you even have one. Magical hour that I usually break down the most. You wake up the next day and you're like, crap, again? If she swings her hand or her arm, whatever, I have to kind of just like do it myself. How can writing get harder and easier? In a blackout, I still managed to get my words in. If you're like way behind, the point is to just write every day. I've been procrastinating, talking to you guys about the fact that I'm procrastinating. Hey everyone, welcome to a writing vlog. So I think this is one of the first ones that I'm going to be doing, and of course this is going to be uploaded the last week of NaNoWriMo. Of course, every year there has been something like in college, essays and things like that, and this year I decided I was going to be determined that nothing else was going to stand in my way. Today's the 19th and I officially hit 30K yesterday. So that's really exciting. It's officially 5 p.m. which means it's time to get out of my pajamas that I've been rocking all day and switch into human clothes, the sweater and jeans. For some people it's like, you know, they wake up in the morning, they have their coffee, they put on clothes. No, for me my day starts at 5 p.m. So right now we're on our way to Starbucks and it actually has a buy one get one free for today. And I'm pretending that's the reason I'm going, but like I was gonna go anyway, so let's go. The only form of socialization and interaction these days for me is literally just me getting my Starbucks at 5-6 p.m. in the evening time. You gotta procrastinate every moment you can from doing the actual thing that you're supposed to be doing. There is absolutely nothing better than having that first sip of an iced caramel macchiato. Now I have to go home and actually start writing. I think there's something so magical about driving at night. Like, I'm such a night owl that I would just drive for no reason. Like, I would just for the sake of just like having that ritual of just getting out, dressing up, and just driving nowhere. So it's fun to have some place to go, but all of the night lights and the car lights and just driving on the highway and the whole, I mean, I don't live in the city, but then just like seeing all the lights, so it's just such a different vibe. So yeah, this is probably one of the other million reasons that I'm a night owl, but also because coffee keeps me up pretty late, especially since it's almost 7 p.m. now, and you know, let's go. Gotta start writing again. I get stuck every single day. Like when I leave off the day before, it's usually the next day I'm like, crap, what am I gonna write about? Like, it's because I'm such a pantser, which is one term that I learned throughout this whole NaNoWriMo thing. I've never heard it before, but honestly, 2 days before NaNoWriMo started, I go on the website for the first time, you know, in the year, and then I find out that like people have been outlining since August, doing like workshops and like getting their characters and their plots all like tidy and ready to go, and me, like November 1st comes around, even like right now I'm still figuring out what my plot is. 30,000 words, I was gonna say kilometers, 30,000 words in my book. Like, it's one of those things where you're just like planning as you go, and then the things surprise you along the way, because I feel like if I organize my thoughts and things, like it just never goes according to plan, and then it's just, you have to, it's like, as weird and poetic as this sounds, like your characters do speak to you, but I do have like lots of problems and struggles that I'm going to continue talking and ranting about, because I can talk about my problems all day and night. Let's go home. So you thought my procrastination was over, but that is not so, because next in my list of stuff to do before writing is feed my bunnies. So one of my favorite things to do is to just lie down with lettuce on my stomach, and my bunny will just like hop on my stomach and start eating it and munching on it, and it's like our bonding time, you know? I love how I turned the camera on to just be like, yeah, I'm totally like writing. Meanwhile, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, literally don't even have like my Word document open. So something that I've discovered that is an essential part of my daily routine of writing during NaNoWriMo is going on the hashtag NaNoWriMo on Twitter and then just literally reading like what people are up to and just how they're handling it for the day. And it's honestly like therapy, like listening to the reading all of the threads of people like, oh, I've hit this number, and just like during their journey. And honestly, like, this is kind of bad, but seeing other people struggle with it like motivates me so hard, because it just puts you in that space of like, okay, we're all drowning at the same time. We all don't know what the heck we're doing, but we're doing it together. Such a comforting fact. It's just such a comforting note to know that we're all just in it together. And so, yeah, I like to just maybe for like 10 minutes just scroll through and read like what people are talking about. And it's kind of like a thing I like to do before. And then after I'm finished writing for the day, I'll like pop in my own thoughts and then continue reading some threads. Or like if during my writing session I'm like really distracted, like I try to like pop in that, because it's so inspirational. So I wanted to finally talk. I've been procrastinating, talking to you guys about the fact that I'm procrastinating. So I kind of wanted to dive kind of a little deeper into why exactly we do it. Like, why do we procrastinate? For me, honestly, I've always been that person. So this month has almost felt like I'm back in school, and the way I kind of went about doing my schoolwork at school is leaving all my assignments until the night before it's due. And you know, when you're just in school and then you just have all of this like stress in the back of your mind that like all of your assignments have to be due. So then you're on Netflix, just watching Netflix stressfully and just not enjoying the things you're doing in the day, because you know you have to get this thing done, but it doesn't quicken the process. Like, it doesn't motivate you to actually get it done. Only the deadline hours before will motivate you. So that's a little bit how I've been finding myself for NaNoWriMo. It's like, if I'm like even doing work, like for work, still like it's in the back of my mind, like, oh my gosh, I have to write 1,600 words today. And it's just like always brewing there, always like messing with me. And yeah, so it's very equivalent to like a school stress type of thing, because as soon as you're done your words for the day, you wake up the next day and you're like, crap, again? I just like did it yesterday. Like, I can't believe I have to do this again today. And that feeling is kind of like, it just repeats on the daily. Like, again, because I'm not used to daily writing. Like, I did have a professional writing degree in school, like that was one of my majors. You would think I would be used to it, but honestly, like, I didn't write every day. So that's why the daily writing habit is just really kicking my butt. And so the fact that like 2 hours before the deadline, or midnight, my self-imposed deadline comes up, it really forces me and like pressures me to like actually get my head in the game and start doing it. So I don't know if procrastination ebbs from the fear of failure, fear of not being good enough. And I feel like maybe when I procrastinate, I try to like slide away all those feelings. So when I'm actually writing and having to get it done by a certain time, I don't have like the luxury to have all of those thoughts distract me from like the task at hand. You know, like when you're doing something and then all of these thoughts and just come up and you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this anymore, like I'm a failure, like this isn't good enough, blah blah blah. And you know, don't get me wrong, those thoughts are basically almost 24/7 in my mind when I'm doing NaNoWriMo, but somehow when you're procrastinating, it's more like when you have to get something done, it's just like your main focus is, you know, the word count and finally just trying to fix your plot if you even have one. So yeah, it's a crazy life, but it works for me because it really pushes me, it really disciplines me to be consistent. And so far, today's the 19th day in a row that I've been writing every single day. Like, so yeah, that just speaks for itself. So I also find that NaNoWriMo, like 95% of it is just staring at your screen, like literally just staring and trying to like fit random puzzles together, and because you just half the time you don't really know what's going on, you're just like trying to fit it. And especially for someone like me who just didn't start out with an outline or anything, I'm just trying to like wing it as I go, and so half the time it's just me just staring. You would think by now like it would get easier, and there's like a really weird aspect of it where it does get easier, like the daily habit part of it, I guess, but the actual writing is still like just as hard as November 1st. Like, how can writing get harder and easier by the day at the same time? Like, that just doesn't even make sense, but it does. Please tell me this isn't only me and I just feel like a weirdo now, but yeah, so if someone in the story basically is smiling or laughing or just something like with a lot of emotion happens, I find myself mirroring that. Like, it's just so weird. Like, I was just writing, she snorts, and I burst out laughing, and then I just couldn't help but like smiling really hard. It's so weird. And then another aspect of it is if I'm trying to describe like a gesture or an action, and most of the time I'll just like be out of words, like I really won't know how to describe the logistics of it because it's just so hard, and I would have to like act it out with my hands. So it's like if she swings her hand or her arm, whatever, I have to kind of just like do it myself and then kind of just be like, oh, like I don't know, just have to like observe the motion and like how it looks like and then try to describe it like that. Like, it's so weird. Like, I find myself doing this all the time. And then I also find myself thinking about my story a lot. Like, if I'm driving in my car, again, like you saw, usually just to Starbucks, I'll try to like see through the eyes of my main character. So like knowing that there are scenes in my story where she's driving at nighttime, so usually I'll be driving at nighttime, I'll try to remember like the stuff that I see and kind of use it as inspiration for later. So like the little small details that I can include, like the way the light shines, and it like glistens in the rain, like especially when all of the light is just bouncing off of the sidewalks, just like little details like that I try to like remember and then later use. That reminds me, my story has like hardly any setting whatsoever. I feel like the first draft is usually always so bad that I'm mostly focusing on trying to figure out the plot and like what's going on, that it just feels like a black and white story, like very like gray, no color, because you know the settings and like all of those really descriptive like imagery is really what adds color to my story. But so far, obviously, I'm not focusing on that, so I really do feel like after I finish, hopefully when I finish, I can go back and just like add all of that color back into the story. But yeah, I really do love describing like feelings and sense of smells and like things like that, which is something I've always struggled with in my writing degree because the whole show don't tell thing is so hard. Sometimes people talk about it on Twitter and I'm like, yeah, maybe I'm not alone. But literally professors will like traumatize you with that, and then afterwards I find it really hard to like have backstories and descriptions in my story because I'm just like, well, how can I show this and not tell you. But sometimes you do have to tell, like that's really important. And then when I'm reading a story, I'm like, there's so much telling here and not showing. So it's like one of those things, I feel like when you learn the rules, you can break them, and every person will have their own taste in it. Like my professor always hated the fact that I added like extra descriptive details, and that's like my thing. Like I love that. So I guess always take that with a grain of salt and kind of you do you, you know? Almost 9 o'clock, and this is where the majority of my writing takes place. Around 9ish to 10:30 is usually when I'm done, unless I, you know, didn't have time to do the goal of the day the night before. And so, you know, for the past few days this week, for example, I had to do 3,000 each day because usually on the weekends I slack off. But mostly if I'm like on track, by the way, getting back on track is literally the most satisfying feeling. Yeah, so around this time of the night is when I realized how much I hate being a night owl, and like I regret all my life choices and decisions, and I regret not being a morning person and having this all done and taken care of and just already done. When you're doing something the night before and then you're just like, oh, if only I could have just one extra day. It's like that type of thing. But I know if I do that the next day, like tomorrow I'll have to do 3,000 words. Anyways, just wanted to say that this is the magical hour that I usually break down the most, and I'm just kind of like, what is going on? It's just a great big mess. One of the things I've been really struggling with, probably since even the beginning, is finding each character and their voice, and everyone having like a personality basically. That's like really tough for me because I don't want it to be stereotyped, and I don't want one person to completely have just one personality, for example, like cynical, and then that like, you know, spearheads their life, because I feel like as humans, we're all not balanced evenly. We all have like character traits that overpower others, but we're not all good and we're not all bad. Once you find out someone's trait and personality, that's like what affects their behavior and their outlook and perspective on life, and just trying to find why they are the way they are, and then based on that kind of establish a voice. But it's been really, really hard, and I feel like for me, dialogue gets written the fastest. Like the days when, you know, it's just that magical time when you're writing and then 2 seconds later, 1,000 words. Like it doesn't happen often to me. I think so far for me, it only happened 2 or 3 times. But when that happens, it is legit magic. You're just like, it's just such an amazing feeling. I think like that feeling is what makes it all worth it. But back to the personality thing, like, you know, sometimes when you watch like a movie and mostly this is in specifically cheesy Hallmark Christmas movies, but sometimes you just hear characters talking to each other and you're like, who talks like that? I was just watching one 2 days ago. I think it was like Home for the Holidays or something like that. Anyways, and these characters, the way they talk to each other is like, no one talks like that. Trying to create a dialogue that's genuine and is realistic is always kind of in the forefront of my mind. But also when you're the creator and you're the writer, it's a lot harder to judge, because creating like that genuine dialogue that's not cheesy and that is like whimsical and witty is very hard. And it's just something that's almost non-existent in my story. I feel like most of my dialogue is very cliche, or like just, I don't know, it's just not what I envision it to be. And especially during this month, I've been reading Anne of Green Gables for the first time, because I watched the Netflix series a couple months ago and I fell in love with it. And so now I'm kind of working backwards and reading the first book, and the way L.M. Montgomery writes is just absolutely beautiful. And so when you read like a finished work like that, and then you compare your first draft and the way the characters speak to each other, and you're like, that's it, I'm a failure. Like stuff like that always, I feel like, affects me because I'm always comparing myself. So I do think it's very important to read during NaNoWriMo, but you can't compare someone who has obviously like edited their work a million times through various drafts to literally your first draft. Like for me, a first draft it's almost like an outline in the way that I'm not sure that these characters exactly are going to be speaking this way, or the dialogue is specifically going to be this. Like it's like a rough draft, and then hopefully once I know my characters better, once I know their stories and their personalities, maybe when I go back I can kind of switch their sentences to reflect them more. Like so if a person is more sarcastic or you know, things like that, like it's something that I didn't think would be so hard, but it really is, because I don't want to just write something that's like cliche. Like I want it to be meaningful and sweet and witty and sarcastic, and sometimes it's hard to summon that from your brain, you know? Guys, I forgot to update you on this thing. So over the weekend on Sunday, we had a freaking blackout. Now, this literally hasn't happened since I was like, I don't know, 6 years old, and I hardly even remember that. But yeah, so on Sunday, when I needed to catch up on like all of my Saturday and Friday, you know, words that I didn't write, I think I only wrote like 15 words on Friday and like, I don't know, 50 on Saturday. So I had like 5,000 words to catch up on. Sun sets at like 4:45 nowadays, so it gets dark really early on. And so my laptop is broken and it needs the charging cord in order to like function, because it has like separation anxiety. That was a whole night wasted. And you know, I still prevailed. I found my NaNoWriMo account on my phone. I used my brother's laptop to, he didn't even have Word. I had to use like his text app or whatever. And I still forced myself and managed to write in pitch darkness with these fake lamps over here, huddled in like the corner of my room in darkness. And I managed to write 400 words. And the thing that kept me going was because I really wanted to update my word count every single day in November for 30 days. Obviously our Wi-Fi was down, so I was walking around the house trying to find a data signal, because our data obviously like wasn't working because of that either. And so I was just walking around just trying to update my word count on NaNoWriMo, and I almost gave up, but I still kept going and I kept writing, and then like all of a sudden it updated and I got to update it. So in pitch darkness, in a blackout, I still managed to get my words in. And catching up the next few days was pure hell, but it just goes to show how far determination will get you. Today was a day where I felt like I was really distracted during my writing time. Every maybe like half an hour I kept checking my phone for Twitter or Instagram, just like, you know, distracting things, just to get back inspired again. So usually that's kind of how my pacing goes. Like I get distracted very easily, and it's not like a full 2 hours of me just like tapping my fingers away. But I think that just has to do with just being tired, like after a long day's work. I know I'm not the only one who's probably just juggling a bunch of things this month. I know NaNoWriMo is really hard on most people, including me, because you have to balance a full-time job, whether it's working from home or not, either college or school, or just a bunch of things that maybe all pile up together and create just the worst possible timing for you to do it. But you're still here and you're still working at it, and no matter what word count you have, if you're like way behind, the point is to just write every day. So just wanted to say, no matter where you are or how or what you're doing, I just wanted to say I'm proud of you, and just to keep it up, because we're on this writing journey together. And yeah, it's quite difficult. You get this kind of sense of accomplishment and pride every single day when you update your word count. That's just my favorite part of the day. And yeah. Okay, so now is the legendary time of the night at 10:18 p.m. November 19th, when I get to update my word count. So it goes from 30,000 to 32,000. I actually excelled in my daily goal level. I was supposed to write 1,600 words, and I wrote 2,000. You know, sometimes when you're writing, there's that rare moment where you're just so into your story that you can't stop. Like, you just want to keep going, because I feel like you see the next scene and the next scene kind of like a snowball effect, and knowing what's going to happen next really motivates you to keep writing. As per my usual routine, I have no idea what's going on, and so every single time I reach my goal count, I'm like, yes, finally I get to rest. But today it was actually like I could continue writing for a while, but my back is aching like crazy. I'm like an old woman. So I'm gonna change into my PJs and watch another episode of New Girl. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got to see a little bit of some brutal honesty of what NaNoWriMo really is like. It's a mix of chaos and magic all just brewing together. You just feel accomplished after you do it, and you know, it could turn out well, or it could turn out like complete garbage, but the point is you're on track, you're on a journey, and you're doing it, and you don't know where you're going, but you're here for the ride. Oh my gosh, I'm talking cliches. This is when I must bid you farewell. So yeah, good night. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you another time. Bye.